You're listening
to the CD Baby
CD Baby
DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to episode number 67 of the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast. This is a Roundtable edition. So joining me, my name is Kevin, by the way. Joining me is just Robert today, but that's good enough.
Hello. It can still be a round table with two people,
That's right. It's just a square table would do as well, but round still works. Yeah, Chris is back in Rhode Island visiting family. And he's going to be there for a while, so we had to move on without him. The show must go on. So, and speaking of, we're trying to get back on a regular schedule. I think this may be the first of many podcasts to come on a regular schedule. I've already done some interviews, and we should be rolling those out and have a fall filled with podcast joy. So.
Excellent.
Well,
I know, I can't wait.
Sure you can. Well, let's get right into some news.
CD Baby
music.
News. Well, Apple, with its typical fanfare, announced some new features to the iTunes Store and its line of iPods on their rock and roll event on 9/9/09. Some of the new features to the iTunes Store were an LP edition for albums that have added features like bonus audio, photos, and video content that are only made available to fans that purchase the LP edition of the album. Another notable upgrade to iTunes is Twitter and Facebook integration, so you can easily share links to artist music. With Apple's iPod lineup, probably the most notable upgrade was the iPod Nano, which now has a voice recorder and a video camera. Still no Beatles catalog or iPod Touch with a camera. But
Can't believe they didn't do the iPod Touch with the camera. But
I'm sure it's coming.
Steve Jobs said, it's a gaming device. But I think he's just saying that because they just want to wait.
We'll see. In their battle to take on Twitter, Facebook has created their own form of @replies in which you can tag users in your updates that will post directly to their wall. You can find info online about exactly how to do this. Facebook has also launched Facebook Lite. The service is a simplified version of Facebook which loads quicker and is optimized for people with slower connections. While Facebook hasn't been promoting it heavily, Facebook wants to see if users prefer the more basic interface over the regular one, and as of now, you cannot add applications on Facebook Lite.
Facebook Lite sounds like a diet social network.
You've heard us talk about TweetDeck as being a great solution to managing Twitter and Facebook updates, but the new version now supports Twitter, Facebook, and MySpace, so you can manage status updates for the big three all in one place.
Well, now.
So a lot of social networking news, a lot of Apple news. There hasn't been a lot of new storylines going on in the music business. It's a lot of same old.
Boring.
Yeah, people complaining about stuff. But anyway, I'm not sure what I think of the LP edition of the albums on iTunes. I know there was lots of talk about how we even mentioned on the podcast what they're calling their cocktail thing, right, that's supposed to be optimized for the tablet PC, which is rumored to be coming out closer to Christmas.
Right.
This LP edition, the only thing I didn't really like about it is it really just seemed to be like a website, like an artist website within iTunes that you gained access to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you looked at one of them. I haven't actually looked at it.
Yeah, Dave Matthews Band has one. They've got a video that features the Dave Matthews Band one. And
have you updated your iTunes to the new 9.0?
Yes, I have.
I kind of like the top nav that they've got going on.
Yeah, I think it was a good update. Some people were saying that they hated the layout, but people say that when any website undergoes a change.
Right. Well, I think they moved it around and sort of the focus is a little bit more on the content, a little bit less on the store,
Yeah. Plus, the Facebook and Twitter integration will be interesting to see if there's any real statistics that helps drive some sales. So I thought that was an interesting thing that they did. And as far as the LP edition, until they really get the word out about how to do it, it really just seemed like a band website that you're paying access to get to. Unless, iTunes does have the ability to control the content, unless all these artists sign off to just give that content as exclusive to the iTunes LP version, it doesn't really make sense to pay more to get video content that I'm going to find on YouTube.
Find on YouTube anyway, yeah.
So we'll see about that. And Facebook, Twitter, still duking it out. And the reason I found the TweetDeck adding MySpace status updates into their functionality interesting is because it seems that Facebook and Twitter, I don't know about Twitter, but Facebook's so focused on taking over what Twitter had,
right,
that I could totally see MySpace being the wild card, sneaking around the back while no one's paying attention and coming up with something that beats both of them. So
Facebook and MySpace, I think, are just the functionality is like almost too much, and maybe Facebook Lite is going to be a solution to that, but it almost seems like, to me, a light version is like the free version. It's like the less featured version. It doesn't,
or the Twitter version.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as fun as,
Yeah.
I don't think that people are going to be, ooh, I'm going to get the light version.
Well, it sounds like they're just doing that in order to test it out as a design option, because when they totally overhauled the accounts last time without telling anybody, it didn't go over well.
Right.
Because they took out some core functionality that made Facebook unique, but they added it back quickly. So it's interesting to see what they do. I prefer some things about Facebook over Twitter, and I use them differently. I do the status updates through both, but as far as I'll post videos differently on Facebook and photos and things. So anyway, it's interesting to see those updates and see how it affects music and music marketing. Maybe none at all. Now that we got that out of the way, the news out of the way, it has been a while. So what have you been up to? Have you been doing music this summer? Or,
I've been doing music with my my 8-piece band. We just bass player just got a stand-up bass, and so we're a very sort of acoustic sounding group. We still use electric amps and stuff like that, but and we have a pickup for the bass, and I think we're going to have a mandolin / banjo player. We even have some flute in the mix. And we're playing a crawfish boil this weekend.
Excellent. Excellent. Things have been going good with music for me as well. We're actually playing tonight. By the time people hear this podcast, it will be over. But there may be footage online of the event. But it was kind of a cool way that the gig came about. Those of you who read my blog probably saw the article I wrote, which was about how this whole thing came about, and a way that I decided was a better way to use Twitter for a band that was trying to get shows and get started and get going off the ground, as opposed to just trying to get fans.
Right.
And basically what had happened is, first of all, I cleared out our feed. I unfollowed like 200 people from our band's account. It's just random people in Portland and other stuff, and really just kind of got focused in on, okay, we need to interact with people, and then kind of thinking, well, it's not just fans that we're really concerned with right now, because what we really want is gigs.
Right.
So why are we trying to, put out a lot of content that, it's just, we felt kind of like, well, what do we do with this? Because
Right.
our EP's not done yet. It'll be mixed in October, and so it's like we're trying to make up content to get people interested in your music.
Right.
And that's kind of not where we're at after I really honestly think about it, and thought where we're at is we need to get connected to the Portland scene.
Yeah.
And we need other bands that might be interested to know who we are for the sake of having an opening band, us opening for them. They need to know who we are, and all the club bookers in town need to know who we are, and by that way, we need to be interacting with them, and a lot of them are on Twitter, and so anyway, we follow Alicia Rose, who, if you remember, we interviewed.
That was way back.
Episode number 2.
Way
So
back.
to make this story complete, you should go back and listen to that episode. I believe it's episode 2. And
one of the first ones.
because she's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah,
And
I know.
and so when this all came about, what happened was she posted on Facebook and Twitter that she needed a band to open up for this show tonight. And it's a national touring act called Great Northern, and the other band on the bill is A-Weather, which is a Portland band, but they also tour nationally and have a national audience. And Peter, our drummer, responded, and so did one of our friends who follows her as well, saying, hey, you should get Hello Morning. Well, she instantly went over and looked at our MySpace page, listened to some tracks, and, we only had like 2 up because of... we're still working on the EP, and we didn't want to put too much rough-sounding stuff up.
Yeah.
And she asked for, if we had some more music. She liked what she was hearing, but then Peter sent her all the bio and stuff, and she read the bio, I guess, and gave us the gig. So, it was like one of those things where our MySpace page has less than 200 friends. We have, we have some music that we think is really good in the works. But it was like all the typical ways of trying to get through to these club bookers. We're not... we don't have those materials ready.
Right, and when we interviewed her, she was like telling us about how often like people's press kits end up in her garbage can.
Yeah, and so having all that, if you listen to that interview and then kind of go, understand how amazing that it was that, we just happened to see in a feed, this was 2 weeks ago, that, hey, we're looking for somebody, and, within 10 minutes of seeing that and responding, we had the gig.
Yeah.
How much... red tape we waited through.
And how much easier is it for her to click on a link and listen to a track? It's like 3 mouse clicks opposed to like receiving a manila envelope, which she's already going to have a judgment against.
Yeah, and so it may be good to see if she'll do a follow-up interview to see if her opinions and things have changed over the last, couple years, because it's been 2 years. So
that's right.
Lots changed in how people exchange music since then. So I just thought that was a really valuable lesson that a lot of bands that are just starting out go from, I'm trying to get fans, and then just kind of refocusing, getting rid of a lot of the clutter, and also trying to focus locally on who we were following. A lot of people that we were following just randomly outside of the Portland area, I unfollowed just because I didn't want that stuff coming through the feed and cluttering up stuff like when Alicia posts, I need a band. So,
right.
Because, the more people you follow, the more your feed's changing rapidly.
Yeah.
And you just can't keep up or spot patterns.
I have a couple of Twitter accounts I need to clean up because it's just so much junk from people. I don't even remember why I followed them in the first place.
So anyway, it's kind of really given us a good focus with Twitter, and it seems to be working well. And I pointed out when I wrote about this that this will evolve for our band. As, we build a fan base, that will change, and we'll be interacting with fans, and there'll be ways to better, and music's released, there'll be ways to better interact with fans, and as we post videos and stuff that they can check out. But, just from the bare bones, it was like,
And you can use TweetDeck, I believe, in some of the other Twitter programs to filter results.
Yes, you can. So if you like to follow a lot of people and don't want to unfollow them, use something like TweetDeck to make groups, and so it's easier for you to follow it. So that was kind of our little mini success story. I mean, the club we're playing at is a very reputable club in Portland. It's not something that you usually end up at for your 5th gig. So so we're hoping...
It's no crawfish boil.
It's not a crawfish boil, but anyway, so if you're a little frustrated with your Twitter experience and you're new, I would recommend doing some of those things, and you might actually see better results. So even though we've been away a little bit this summer, our listener line has still been open, and we've got lots of great calls, so let's get to those now.
CD Baby Podcast.
Message line
206-426-5683.
The number you have dialed, 206-426-5683.
Hey everybody, this is Derek Sandstrom calling. I'm a Christian contemporary singer-songwriter from Pennsylvania. Wanted to share something that I did with some success. Might help you guys too. I recorded a CD, and in order to kind of raise some money for that, I had my fans sponsor songs. And so for $25 a piece, they were able to sponsor a song. So on my CD booklet, it says, "This song sponsored by," and says who it was. And individuals stepped forward, and churches did, and I shouldn't have charged $25. I should have gone $50 or $100 because it was much more successful than I thought. So I don't know if that's applicable to the albums that y'all are making, but if so, use the idea and save your budget for something else. This is Derek Sandstrom. Check me out on CD Baby or visit me at dereksandstrom.com. See you later. God bless. Bye.
Hi, Kevin, Robert, and Chris. This is Matt from King Never, kingnever.com, and also on CD Baby. Hey, I just wanted to comment on Kevin's observation about, you noticed that people's Twitter streams have seemed to diminished over the summer, and I've noticed the same thing too. I've also noticed it on Facebook with my non-musician friends, so I kind of attribute it to, people just doing the normal summer thing, and they're, outside enjoying the weather or whatnot. For myself, I know mine's dropped off a lot. In fact, the last week I've hardly been online at all, and I noticed that I use this service called Twitterlist.com, which basically sends you an email weekly on how many followers you've added and dropped. And this week I added 7 and dropped 7, which I attribute to spammers. And I think that's, shows that if you're not using Twitter, you can actually kind of lose some followers. So that's kind of what I'm attributing it to. For myself, I see Twitter as a very valuable tool. I've gotten a handful of sales that I can directly attribute to Twitter since I've been on, I think since about April. And I've also done some great networking. Had a visual artist volunteer to do some cover art for my next album. And so anyways, it's a valuable resource, and I plan to get back into the flow once the weather turns bad. No, I plan to get back into the flow today. All right, guys, love the podcast. Keep up the good work. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Eric Sandstrom calling, Christian contemporary musician from Pennsylvania. I had 2 questions that I would love to have answers to. Number one is, when I sing covers, or anyone sings cover songs, who is responsible for paying royalties and fees like that to the original performers or the original writers? And that includes if I go and do a Ustream performance and I do cover songs, that seems like something I need to pay for. So I'm wondering if that's really true. And the same thing goes for playing in clubs and other things. And my other question is, what do you all do about paying sales tax in all the different states where you play? Is that something that we're really responsible for? When I call the State Department of Revenues, of course, they all say, yes, I am. And so that's part of my record keeping. Does everybody else do that? Hey, thanks for the answers. Again, this is Derek Sandstrom calling from Pennsylvania, and you can check me out on CD Baby or my website, dereksandstrom.com. Take care. Peace.
All right, well, thanks for those calls. Some good stuff there.
Yeah.
Derek's first message about sponsoring a song, that's a good idea.
It is a good idea, and actually I've been thinking a lot along those lines for the album that hopefully my band will put out, hopefully record this winter. I'm thinking about setting up something where, because we have 8 members in the band, all 8 members have parents and family members and aunts and uncles and everybody else who want to see and listen to the album. And, once there's something recorded, and I think that it wouldn't be too hard for us to put something together, put a website together, encourage, all of our aunts and uncles and friends and fans and everything else to donate a little bit towards the recording fund. So I'm going to put that together. I haven't ironed out all the details yet, but
yeah. And you can put their name in the liner notes. They'll think it's the greatest thing. Their name's inside an album.
Totally.
So it's a good idea. There's also services popping up to help facilitate it that are, I think if you can do it a little more DIY, it's probably a little less hassle. Mm-hmm. Like if you open up a PayPal thing. But there are some websites that are kind of facilitating that probably have a little bit more restrictions and things that you have to do to follow through with. And Derek's other call with his question about who pays for cover songs, basically all those websites that you're using, like if you mentioned Ustream and others, should be paying performance royalties to ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, and
whether they've actually been put to the gun yet,
yeah,
who knows?
Who knows? But they would be paying for those performances of your stream or whatever, and so you are not responsible for that, as my understanding at this point. That may be different next week. Who knows? But anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. The only time that you as an artist should be really worried about paying royalties is if you're recording a cover song and selling it.
Because venues, either internet venue or terrestrial brick and mortar venue, are the ones responsible.
Yeah, they're paying performance licenses for the music that gets performed in their venue, whether it be a radio playing in the room or a band. So, there are some nitpicky gray areas in there, but as a regular indie artist, I wouldn't worry about anything other than paying mechanical royalties if you record those cover songs.
He also asked about taxes.
Oh, taxes. You're right. If you call the IRS and ask them if you have to pay, they are going to say yes. I don't think they can say no to that question without losing their job. What he's talking about, sales tax, and I ran into this because I actually live in Vancouver, Washington, which is just separated from Portland, Oregon by a river. And so the river is the state line. But it's really one big metro area. So my previous independent project that I had, like back in 2005, would play most of our shows in Oregon and a few in the Washington area. And I started getting things from the state of Washington wanting sales tax. Well, I paid them for all the CDs I had sold in Oregon, and I realized it goes by what state you sold them in. And Oregon has no sales tax.
Oh.
So I paid them a big chunk of money that they didn't deserve.
So that sales tax, if you go through, you play a couple of gigs in a state on your way through, you're going to owe the state of California or the state of Idaho, like 20 cents or something like that?
Yeah, and I don't know how they keep track of it. I don't know if it's something they're just cracking down on more now. When I was in Small Town Poets, I didn't handle any of that stuff.
Here's what you do.
I'm sure we weren't paying it.
Here's what you do. Like if you have like a couple of bucks or something like that while you're in the state, just like go to a bus stop, like just stick it under a coffee can, like throw it out the window while you're driving down the highway. It'll get to them.
Yeah. So when they send you the bill, just say, I threw a buck out the window when we were down I-40, so just that should cover it. Go to mile marker 200. It's there somewhere in the weeds. I'm not going to hire you as my financial advisor anytime soon. But then Matt, also known as King Never on Twitter, commenting on that he had noticed a decline in Twitter usage over the summer, and I'm still noticing that. Haven't really seen it kick back up for fall, so I don't know if I need to follow more people because other people I've followed have just given up or what. But so anyway, we got another group of calls. In our last episode, we were talking about Chris getting heckled at his show, and so we asked for some heckler stories. And
I can't wait.
We got a couple. So
hi guys, my name is Safe. I'm with the hip-hop group Recess in Colorado, and I just wanted to say I've been a long-time listener of the podcast. I think I've been listening to every podcast since about episode 5, and I really enjoy what you guys are doing, and you've helped us out a lot with getting our music out there. I just wanted to say you guys were talking in the podcast about hecklers, and you wanted some good stories about hecklers, and I've got a pretty good one. We were doing a show in our hometown here in Breckenridge, Colorado. We're a hip-hop group, and I had a heckler in the show. He was really drunk and made his way up to the front of the crowd. Luckily, just as he started to get really obnoxious, I made it into a section of one of my songs where I actually do kind of a diss rap. And I was able to physically direct my diss rap at the guy, and it was just kind of lucky that he got obnoxious at that particular moment in time, and I was able to get really in his face and do some stuff, and I turned the whole crowd on him, and I think he eventually got kicked out of the club. It was pretty hilarious, and I got a lot of comments about it from fans after the show about how cool that was, and some of them even thought I planned that, but it's not the case. He was just a random heckler. Just wanted to say that was a fun story, and I really love the CD Baby website, and you can visit our website at depicrecords.com, which we have put up through Host Baby, and I really like what you guys are doing there, and the templates are all really cool and easy to use, and I would love some feedback on the website. So thank you very much, depicrecords.com.
Hey there, Kevin and others. This is Matthew Ebel from MatthewEbel.com. I've been listening to episode 66 here, and first of all, thanks again for the kind words. I had a blast doing the interview on the episode I was on a few episodes back there. Good to hear you guys are back. You had asked for stories about hecklers, and you had mentioned that, yes, indeed, hecklers do show up in internet shows just like they do drunk at the back of bars. It's a lot easier for people to heckle when they're somewhat anonymous. So as soon as you reach a certain threshold, let's say a couple hundred viewers, they just start coming out of the woodwork. And fortunately, I have a lot of friends and fans who are pretty adept at swinging the band hammer and knocking those people out of there. Well, you asked for a specific heckler story. I had somebody a few weeks ago at one of my Ustream shows who kept requesting Miley Cyrus tunes. Yeah, Miley Cyrus. Now, if you've ever heard my stuff, I'm more in the Ben Folds realm. So Miley Cyrus is sort of the antithesis of anything I would ever consider doing. And a lot of my fans know this, and a lot of my fans abhor Miley Cyrus music about as much as I do. Well, the fans actually started jumping on this poor girl, and she was obviously some 16-year-old girl, I think from the UK or something like that. You know, I actually had to step in and basically stop my fans from killing this heckler, digitally anyway, and mention hey, don't make fun of her because she likes Miley Cyrus. We can make fun of Miley Cyrus music all we want, but don't trash this poor girl. Well, it turns out even though she, kept requesting Miley Cyrus and kept saying that Miley Cyrus is better than me, she showed up at every show since then. So whether or not she was indeed a bona fide heckler or was just on a Miley Cyrus kick that night, she's now a regular viewer. So it is possible to occasionally turn one of those obnoxious internet types into a bona fide fan, or at the very least somebody who's listening. Somebody who's listening is much more valuable and much more important than somebody who just says, "Oh, screw this," and buggers off. So I don't know. There's my heckler story for you. Keep putting out a good podcast, and one request: you guys might want to talk about Google Voice, because it's a rather wonderful new service, and it's letting me put up a phone number, like a call me, leave me a message, or SMS me link on my website without having to give up any real privacy, without having to put out my real phone number. So, I don't know, maybe you guys could talk about that and explain that to some musicians. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, and thanks a lot.
All right, thanks for those heckler stories.
That was pretty good. So the first guy, I think you said his name was Safe or something similar.
Something like.
He had a pretty funny story, but it actually sounded to me, by the way he was breathing, almost like he was being chased by the heckler while he was on the phone.
Well, he is from Colorado. The air's thinner up there.
Oh, he probably, I probably shouldn't say that. Maybe he has a condition.
Great. You're making fun of disabled folks now.
I know.
Yeah, so that was a pretty interesting story, being able to, a lot of hip-hop artists, do raps on the fly, and so that was kind of a cool thing for him to be able to do and kind of deal with the situation with good humor and kind of take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing you can do is just let it get to you, so much so that it ruins your performance.
Yeah, and then as Matthew pointed out with his heckler, when you do some of those live internet things, there is anonymity on the internet, and people act out in ways that they wouldn't normally in person.
Yeah,
and you can get hecklers that way as well. So I think after that Ustream thing, that was my biggest thought about being able to manage that mentally while you're playing, because it could end up, if you did start getting larger crowds at your Ustream shows, that people getting in there and just kind of spoiling the fun. So that does happen as well. So great calls, guys. Keep them coming. Our message line is 206-426-5683. We're always interested in your experiences. And, it's the end of summer, so why don't it be great if you call in and gave us your end of summer wrap up, things you did that were helpful for your music career, things that were wasted time, tour stories, anything that you had going on this summer with your music. And we'd like to hear about it. So, and also if there's any segments, but we've talked about gear segments, but if any other specific segments you like to hear in the podcast, topics covered, let us know as well, and we will try to do so. So,
Indeed. Didn't Matthew Ebel have a question at the end about using a phone?
Oh, Matthew also mentioned Google Voice, which I've heard about, and it is a cool similar way to get a phone number like we do for this message line. People can call in, leave messages, and Google Voice actually has more connectivity where it'll actually call your phone. You can hook it up to your phone. You can direct it to different lines. So like if I wanted fans to be able to actually call me in person, I could put up my Google Voice number. It would call my cell phone, and they could call it without knowing my actual cell phone number.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool feature, and maybe we'll have a Google Voice seminar sometime. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the podcast. Be looking for us, hopefully, on a weekly basis from this point on. I know many of you have expressed that you've missed us, and we've missed podcasting and sitting around my office blabbing in front of microphones. And you could also email us at info@cdbabypodcast.com, and we're in the iTunes store and on the web at cdbabypodcast.com. Catch you later.
Bye.
You've been listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.